Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday to you all. My name is Ben Abrams. I'm a news anchor and reporter here at Public Radio Tulsa, and welcome to another edition of Live at Lunch. This is just a few minutes that we do every day to bring you some of the most important stories in our area, as well as around the nation and around the world. Just a few minutes every day at lunchtime so you can feel more informed in just a short amount of time. So let's get started with some news today, starting with a local story. Protesters gathered this weekend on Saturday at Woodward Park to decry the policies of President Trump. A grassroots political group called Indivisible Tulsa themed the protest as a so-called die-in. And what they mean by that is demonstrators brought these mock gravestones to symbolize the death of democratic institutions. Take a look at this. You can see a mock gravestone saying freedom of speech to 2025, U.S. Constitution to 2025. And people did these kinds of acts where they pretended to be these dead institutions on the grass in Woodward Park. This is Gary Peluso Verdend, who is from Boston Avenue Methodist Church, who led the ceremony, and he said,
"We are here both to mourn the current loss of the country we thought we lived in, and because we want to see democracy live." Amen?
So Saturday's protest comes on the heels of other demonstrations that were held across the country several days earlier on May Day, including one here in Tulsa, also voicing anger at the Trump administration. If you remember that, you can read about that story here from our news director, Elizabeth Caldwell. And if you want to read more about the protest this past Saturday, go to our website here, publicradiotulsa.org. What I found interesting about this when I was covering this protest was there was a number of issues that people brought up, from the cutting of funds for federal agencies like the National Institutes of Health, and there was also somebody there who was protesting cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which fund entities like PBS and NPR stations. You can read more about that here on npr.org. This is also on our website, publicradiotulsa.org. We want to move on to something a little bit lighter in the Tulsa area, and that is a representative of downtown says that large events that happen in downtown Tulsa can't be a crutch to bring people to the area. So according to data collected by the Downtown Tulsa Partnership, which is this collective of businesses and entities in the area, the number of downtown visitors last year in 2024 fell by roughly 90,000, which is quite a significant decrease. And that decrease ended 4 consecutive years of visitor increases to the area. The partnership CEO, Brian Kurtz, says events in years past, like that Live Golf tournament that happened, and as well as NCAA games, contributed to that influx of visitors that we saw in years past. Take a listen.
We are reliant upon finding alternative populations that can continue to drive more people coming into our urban center each and every day.
Now, Kurtz says the expansion of medical campuses on the western side of downtown is encouraging. He says that OSU's Veterans Hospital could potentially bring more people, more than 3,000 people to the area. He also says that 2026 should draw visitors from outside the region thanks to some big events like the upcoming Route 66 Centennial, which is happening next year. So there is a lot to look forward to, and we'll see if tourism booms once again in 2025 and 2026 as we track that, as the Downtown Tulsa Partnership tracks that data. Turning to some national news, and this is a bit of an interesting blast from the past that came into the present now. President Trump says he's ordering federal agencies to rebuild and reopen a notorious maximum security prison in California that closed more than 60 years ago. And you can probably guess what this is. You are probably right. It's Alcatraz. Then U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy closed the federal penitentiary back in 1963. It's currently operated as a museum administered by the National Park Service, but President Trump on Truth Social said, quote, "I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen and substantially enlarge and rebuild Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders." Now, this historic penitentiary, it opened in 1934. It was largely known as The Rock, and its buildings dominate the landscape on Alcatraz Island. And again, it's currently run as a museum. No word yet on how exactly this reopening and rebuilding would happen, but you can read more here from this article from Bill Chappell on NPR.org. It's also available on our website, publicradiotulsa.org. So that's a roundup of some of today's headlines. Thank you again for joining us. Again, we'll be streaming all throughout this month of May. I'm Ben Abrams. We'll catch you tomorrow at noon. Thanks so much. Take care.